and welcome to Business Line. It is said when America sneezes, the world catches a cold. In this first edition of 2016, we look at what happens to the world when China gets sick. The dramatic crash of the country's stock market triggered a rough start to the year for the markets across the world. The China decline followed the report on the country's manufacturing. How bad was it? Well, bad enough for the Chinese authorities to introduce the latest measure in an attempt to tame markets' volatility. The circuit breaker mechanism was announced in September and tried for the first time this Monday, when it became clear that the start of the new year was torrid. Let's see what is it and how it works. After the summer meltdown in the stock market, the regulators announced a forced pause to trading that would start working from 2016. When could it be used? Well, all depends on an index of the 300 biggest stocks listed in Shanghai and Shenzhen, CSI 300. A move of 5% in either direction from the index's previous close triggers a 15-minute trade suspension across the country's equity indexes if the move occurs before 2:30 p.m. local time. If later, all is frozen until the end of the day. A 7% rise or fall in the CSI 300 index prompts a trading halt in the Shanghai and Shenzhen stock exchanges for the rest of the day. All this to avert panic. Both circuit breakers are supposed to be activated once a day to avert panic in markets. Both were used on the first day, but trading was suspended just in China. The rest of the world felt the full scale of the downturn on Monday, when the global market had one of the worst opening days in decades.
Violent New Year fireworks is how one analyst summed up events on Wall Street, where the Dow fell 450 points, having its worst opening day in 84 years as weak Chinese economic data reignited fears of global growth. In Europe, Frankfurt dropped almost 4.3%, London, Paris and Madrid all dropped almost 2.5%. China's disappointing manufacturing data was one reason, analysts said, for the fall.
It was expected to show a modest increase in December, actually saw quite a large decline. And it's just renewed the same fears that dogged a lot of last year's trading, namely that the slowdown in China's economy could be set to speed up. And that obviously weighs on any industry which relies on China's real.
Crude oil prices rose on the back of news that Saudi Arabia had broken off diplomatic ties with Iran. Gold jumped more than 1% as investors fled to the safe haven metal.
Now, what did trigger all this? The crash came after a report that China's manufacturing sector shrank yet again, despite expectations of an increase. There was the SICIN Manufacturing PMI, Purchasing Managers Index, that measures the performance of the manufacturing sector and is derived from a survey of 430 industrial companies. It is based on 5 individual indexes, the most important among them: new orders, output and employment. The SICIN PMI is a closely watched indicator which focuses on smaller and medium-sized companies filling a niche that isn't covered by the official data. A reading below 50 represents a contraction. Above 50 indicates an expansion compared to the previous month, while 50 indicates no change. The SICIN December manufacturing PMI was down at 48.2. China's official manufacturing PMI stood at 49.7, still in the red. The pace of the economic growth in China dragged on crude oil prices, while there is another factor weighing on commodities: the recent escalation of tensions between Saudi Arabia and Iran, OPEC's important producers.
Oil from Saudi Arabia, part of the rivalry it has with Iran, and now it's taking to the stage in the diplomatic fallout. How will that affect output and in turn the price, which has more than halved in 18 months? Like Saudi Arabia, Iran has suffered in the marketplace, but now as sanctions are eased, the country is preparing to up its output. More oil added to the global glut could outweigh the geopolitical tension. The total monthly estimate of crude from Saudi Arabia is just over 30%. That's well ahead of the figures from Iran for the global market. But that will change. Iran is set to boost its global output in 2 stages. Within a week of sanctions being removed, 500,000 will be added, and then a further 500,000 barrels 6 months later. OPEC has boosted production by almost 1.40 million barrels per day since it refused to cut supply and prop up prices. Iran Oil Minister Bijan Zanganeh has been quoted as saying he's not seeking to distort the market but to regain his country's share. Critically, any cooperation with his Saudi opposite number now looks unlikely. So in the short term, analysts say, oversupply may actually grow further.
Giacomo is off this week, but we couldn't miss one of the most exciting IT events, the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. That's exactly the place where you can find anything you can and cannot imagine. The most creative start-uppers believe that's the place to win big. They hope their invention, shown in Vegas, won't stay in Vegas, but will change our lives.
Viva Las Vegas! Viva Las Vegas!
A song and a robot with a welcome to this year's Consumer Electronics Show. The one-time toy has grown up into a practical smart helper who can recognise and respond to your voice. With the all-IE 360-degree camera linked to an app, you never need to miss what's going on at home. Smart home devices like these are expected to grow by 21% in 2016. Over 40 exhibitors will showcase technologies related to virtual reality. That's a 77% increase from last year. The Tech Fest is also the place for startups to display their new devices, like this intelligent energy fuel cell.
We've produced prototypes of our technology into the applications, and we need partners. So we're looking for OEM partners to take this technology and adopt it and integrate it into their applications.
Apple is one of several big names which have skipped the show, but for the 180,000 visitors which are expected through the doors during the 3 days, there's plenty to enjoy from smaller exhibitors like Technology Beer. There's been a 25% growth in the car exhibition space this year, where Swiss company Rinspeed unveiled their concept car called Ethos. A retracting steering wheel gives you a chance to read a book, while 8 HD exterior cameras monitor the vehicle's surroundings, establishing 180-degree panoramic views. Emissions. What emissions? Buddy had its world premiere in Las Vegas at the Consumer Electronics Show, one of 2 Volkswagen concept electric cars which were unveiled. It is a vehicle that knows your touch. Wave your hand, the door will open. But what about that emissions scandal? The marque's brand manager believes he can strike a deal to bring nearly 500,000 diesel vehicles into compliance with US emission laws.
I'm optimistic that we will find a conclusion. We will bring a package together which satisfies our customers first and foremost, but then also the regulators here in the United States.
The e-Golf Touch was the other VW showcased at Vegas, a fully electric car which, in the words of the makers, delivers a new automotive experience. The event was part of the company's efforts to clean up its image. VW aims to bring the e-cars to the market before the end of the decade, but admitted diesel technology will still play an important role in the company's strategy for the future.
And that was it for now. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.